Tashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Tashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Tashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Tashmar Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Tashmar Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Bhāgavata-pravāha Gaurāṅga Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath. Nitil Vishnu Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Kaur Ki Jai. Sorry. Nitil Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopal Patadasha Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaur Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Is today anything special? 1 second, let me just check. And it's Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. No, doesn't look like anything special. Okay, so I'm going to skip the Mangalacharya today because we're not reading Srimad Bhagavatam directly. Dandavat Pranams, Madhavi Didi, Raseshwari Mataji. I don't know who's watching on the Gaudiya Kirtan live page, but Dandavat Pranams, whoever that is. Dandavat Pranams Prajumna Prabhu and Mantramurti Mataji, Gargarajji, Dandavat Pranam Haribo. So let me share my screen. So we're going to continue on with this. Yesterday we finished the fourth canto and then we read just the beginning part of this book. What is it? Bhāgavata-pravāha by Gaurāṅga Darśana Prabhu. So we read about Shiva and Sati going to her father's Daksha's big sacrifice, and anyhow, we read this whole thing. So now we've come to Dhruva Maharaj. The story of a determined prince. Having described the family lines of Manu's daughters, Maitreya began speaking about Manu's sons, Uttanapad and Priyavrata. He first began with Uttanapad, in whose family the pious Dhruva took birth. The rest of the fourth canto describes the lineage of Uttanapad. And as we read just yesterday, the fifth canto will be reading about Priyavrata, his lineage. King Uttanapad had 2 wives, Suniti and Suruchi. He loved his younger wife Suruchi, but neglected Suniti. One day he was sitting on his throne with Suruchi's son Uttama on his lap. At that time, Suniti's son Dhruva came there, also desiring to sit on his father's lap. Suruchi, out of envy, pride, and a sense of superiority, spoke to little Dhruva. Although you are the king's son, you are not born of my womb, so you are not qualified to sit on his lap. You should go to the forest and worship Lord Vishnu, and then take birth from me in your next life, and only then may you qualify. Her harsh words pierced Dhruva's tender heart. Uttanapad, attached to beautiful Suruchi, remained silent. This pained Dhruva even more.
He was angry, like as a snake that has been stepped upon. Weeping, Dhruva ran to his mother. Suniti, the first wife of the king, was already heartbroken, being neglected by Uttanapad. She became devastated, seeing her only child insulted by her co-wife, and the matter overlooked by her husband. But being a devotee of Krishna, she immediately pacified Dhruva with wise words to avoid any negative feelings harboring in Dhruva's heart. Her three wisdom principles to Dhruva were: 1. Desire no harm for others, even if they hurt your heart. 2. Suffering is only the result of one's own past misdeeds. 3. Fulfillment of desires is only possible by the worship of the Supreme Lord. Having heard from his noble mother that Krishna fulfills all one's desires, Dhruva left for the forest to worship him. Inspired by the Supreme Lord, the great Narad Muni approached Dhruva to test the strength of his purpose and faith. Narad told Dhruva, "You are just a kid attached to playing. Don't be so affected by honor and dishonor that come to us. The process of worshipping the Lord as advised by your mother is very difficult. When you are grown up, you may attempt it then." Undeterred, ambitious Dhruva replied, "I desire the most exalted position in the three worlds, which is not attained even by Brahma. Please advise me an honest path to achieve my goal." Pleased with the honesty and determination of the child, Narad didn't feel dishonored with Dhruva unheeding his advice. I only slept not very much last night. So I might have to stand up at a point, actually. Anyhow, so he wasn't, Narad Muni didn't feel dishonored. Rather, accepting Dhruva as his disciple, Narad instructed him in Krishna Bhakti. He said, "Go to the Madhuvan forest on the bank of river Yamuna. Worship and meditate on Lord Vasudev's form there. Chant Om Namo Bhāgavate-pravāha." When Dhruva left home, Uttanapad deeply regretted his unkind dealings with Dhruva and his mother. Anxious about Dhruva's safety, he condemned himself as a merciless father and a hen-pecked husband. Then Narad Muni arrived to reassure him that his son would soon return after being successful in pleasing Lord Vishnu. At Madhuban, little Dhruva worshipped the Lord as instructed by Narad Muni with an undeviated mind. Saving time for his worship, he severely cut back on his bodily needs. As a start, he sustained on the kapita fruits once in 3 days during the first month. During the second month of his austerities, he ate only dry grass and leaves once in 6 days. He sustained only on water once every 9 days during the third month. In the fourth month, Dhruva sustained only on air by breathing once every 12 days. By the fifth month, unwavering Dhruva controlled his breath and mind, stood motionless on one foot, and meditated on Lord Vishnu's form with devotion and without a moment's break. Carrying the fully manifested form of the Lord in his heart, he assumed the weight of the whole universe. The three worlds trembled, the earth pushed down, and everyone suffocated as a result. Oblivious to the cause, all the demigods approached Lord Vishnu for shelter. Appeased, Lord Vishnu went on Garuda to Madhuban to personally bless his young devotee. Upon seeing the Lord, Dhruva offered prostrated obeisances and exhibited ecstatic symptoms. Though he desired to offer prayers, due to lack of proper knowledge and developed vocabulary, he couldn't. Understanding his awkward position, the Lord mercifully touched his conch, which was non-different from the Vedas to Dhruva's Haribol, thanks for patiently waiting. My chat thing is done though. Let me try to refresh power. It's been a while since the power went out. Anyhow, just 1 second. I'm going to refresh my page again. I'm using my mobile hotspot, but my mobile is not. Okay, looks like it's working. Send me a message if it's just going too slow. I'll check back in the comments also. Okay, I have to share my screen again. All right. So let's just, what did we read just now? So though Dhruva desired to offer prayers, due to lack of proper knowledge and developed vocabulary, he couldn't. Understanding his awkward position, the Lord mercifully touched his conch, which was non-different from the Vedas, to Dhruva's forehead. Thus, enlightened with the essence of the entire Vedic wisdom, Dhruva offered celebrated prayers to the Lord. There, the power is back. Okay, I'm going to switch to my other, to the Wi-Fi again. Now, I'll wait a little minute. I'll wait a few minutes. Okay, Dhruva prayed, "My dear Lord, you have enlivened all my sleeping senses, my hands, legs, ears, skin, life force, and especially power of speech, by your spiritual energy. You are the only shelter. True bliss can be derived only by meditating on your lotus feet and by hearing your glories from your devotees. So kindly grant me the association of your pure devotees, by which I can easily transcend this fierce material ocean. You mercifully maintain even ignorant devotees like me, like a cow that protects her calf." Lord Vishnu told Dhruva, 1. You will rule your father's kingdom for 36,000 years. 2. Uttama and Suruchi will soon meet their end. And 3. You will remember me at the time of death and attain my planet, Swaitadweep in the Milk Ocean, which will be called Dhruvaloka. The Lord then departed. Having developed a genuine taste for the sweetness of bhakti, and having seen the Lord personally, Dhruva considered any exalted position in the universe to be insignificant, and was ashamed of aspiring for them. He thought of himself to be like that poor man who, when offered by an emperor to ask for any boon, begged only for a few grains of broken rice. Let me just switch over to my Wi-Fi so that I have faster internet. Alright, I am back. There, okay. Thanks for your patience. Having been blessed by the Lord, Dhruva left from Madhuban. Uttanapad heard the news of Dhruva's arrival and eagerly came out of the city to receive him. Noble Suniti had Suruchi and Uttama ride in her palanquin. Dhruva paid obeisances to his parents, and Uttanapad lovingly embraced him. Suniti bathed him with her affectionate tears and her milk. Suruchi blessed Dhruva to live long. Uttama and Dhruva also affectionately embraced. Thereafter, everyone returned to the city. Thus Dhruva grew up luxuriantly in the loving care of his father and mothers. Seeing Dhruva's maturity and the citizens' love for him, Uttanapad, with the approval of all the ministers, enthroned Dhruva as the emperor of planet Earth. Then Uttanapad retired to perform bhakti unto Krishna for the rest of his life. Being anxious for self-realization, he didn't even wait for the marriage of Dhruva. King Dhruva later married 2 wives, Brahmi and Ila, and begot children. As predicted by the Supreme Lord, Dhruva's younger brother Uttama, who was still unmarried, went on a hunting excursion and was killed by a powerful yaksha in the Himalaya mountains. Later, his mother Suruchi also died in a forest fire. Overwhelmed with lamentation and anger, Dhruva got on his chariot and went out to attack Alakapuri, the city of the Yakshas. A fierce battle took place between Dhruva and the Yakshas, and at one point the Yakshas fled from the battlefield. Doubting his mystic enemies, Dhruva held his ground. As predicted by Dhruva, the Yakshas created out a covert stike. What's a stike? Whatever. Dictionary. I have to download the dictionary. Never mind. Whatever. Is it still downloading? Anyways, doesn't matter. Oh, god dang it. They created out a covert stike with many illusions that bewildered Dhruva. Then great sages prayed for the well-being of Dhruva and reminded him of the Narayan weapon. Thus, with the Narayanastra, Dhruva destroyed all the illusions created by the Yakshas. Dhruva then started indiscriminately killing the Yakshas, almost to the point of destroying their race entirely. Seeing his grandson, Dhruva, killing so many innocent Yakshas, Swayambhuva Manu approached him along with the sages and petitioned, "My dear Dhruva, enough! Excessive anger is the sinful path of ignorance. It doesn't befit our dynasty, and especially you, who are destined to achieve the Lord's abode. It has been proven that you are affectionate to your brother and are aggrieved about his death. But for the fault of one Yaksha, you are killing too many. Yakshas are not the killers of your brother, for the Supreme Lord is the ultimate cause of birth and death. He is pleased when a devotee is tolerant, merciful, and friendly, and takes others' happiness and distress as one's own. Please note that your actions have been very disrespectful to Kuvera, the king of Yakshas. You should immediately pacify Kuvera with gentle words." It's working, right? I think, yeah, there's still 4 people watching. Okay. Learning that Dhruva's anger had subsided, Kuvera appeared there and spoke. "I am glad to know that under the instruction of your grandfather, you have given up your anger. It is not you who have killed the Yakshas, for the ultimate birth and death is the time feature of the Supreme Lord. You may take any benediction from me." Dhruva begged for unflinching faith in and remembrance of the Supreme Lord. He feared that if Kuvera is displeased with him, then he wouldn't be able to remember Lord Krishna. Kuvera happily granted the boon and disappeared. Dhruva Maharaj then returned to his capital city. Dhruva ruled over this planet for 36,000 years. He worshipped the Supreme Lord by great sacrifices and charity. Then he retired to Badrikashram, where he performed bhakti and meditated on the Lord's deity form. He manifested ecstatic symptoms. Then a beautiful effulgent airplane appeared, in which Dhruva saw Nanda and Sunanda, the chief associates of Lord Vishnu. Dhruva offered obeisances and chanted and glorified the Lord's holy names. Nanda and Sunanda invited Dhruva to board the plane to go to Vishnu Loka. Dhruva then took his bath, performed his daily rituals, and took blessings of the sages there. At that time, death personified arrived, but Dhruva fearlessly placed his foot on his head and boarded the Vaikuntha airplane. Celestial beings celebrated this event by singing, dancing, and showering flowers. As the plane was ascending, Dhruva remembered his mother, Suniti, who first instructed him in achieving the Lord's favor. He thought, how can I go to Vaikuntha leaving behind my poor mother? He was ready to jump off the plane. Understanding Dhruva's mind, Nanda and Sunanda showered him with they showed him another plane in which Suniti was also going to the Lord's abode. Passing through Bhur, Bhuva, and Swarga Loka, Dhruva's airplane finally reached Dhruva Loka, the self-effulgent planet that illuminates all other planets, and is also circumambulated by all the luminaries. Bad son of a good father. After Dhruva retired, his eldest son Utkal didn't accept the throne, as he was self-realized. So his younger brother Vatsar became the king. In his lineage, after a few generations, there was a great king named Anga. Once Anga performed an Ashwamedha sacrifice. Expert priests in the sacrifice invited the demigods, but they didn't appear. The reason was that Anga didn't have a son. So upon the advice of the Brahmins, King Anga performed a sacrifice to please Lord Hari, and thus his wife Sunita gave birth to a son named Vena. Sunita was the daughter of Mrityu, death personified. Her son Vena inherited the qualities of his maternal grandfather, Mrityu, and became very cruel. He would unnecessarily kill innocent animals and frighten the citizens. Even as a child, he would kill his playmates. Anga tried to reform Vena in various ways and even punished him, but failed. Anga thus contemplated, sonless people are more fortunate, as they need not suffer the unbearable grief caused by a bad son. On further contemplation, Anga thought, a bad son is better than a good son, because a good son induces attachment to family life, while a bad son causes detachment. Thinking thus, Anga left home in the dead of the night, giving up all attraction for kingdom and family. Everyone was aggrieved by his abrupt retirement. By such incidents, the Lord repeatedly demonstrates how the result of material aspirations is either bondage or suffering. In the absence of a ruler, thieves and rogues plundered the innocent. Under these circumstances, the sages enthroned Vena as the king, with the permission of his mother Sunita. Vena's infamous cruelty made the thieves shiver in fear. Being proud of himself, Vena insulted great people and stopped Brahmins from performing sacrifices. Considering the difficulties of the citizens due to Vena's atrocities, the sages went and advised him. A king should protect citizens by maintaining varnashram and worshipping the Supreme Lord. So please do not stop the sacrifices and disrespect the demigods. Vena arrogantly retorted, the king is the Supreme Lord. He is the reservoir of all the demigods. Your affection for demigods is exactly like the affection of an unchaste woman for a paramour. Give up such foolishness and worship me with all your offerings and sacrifices. The sages were furious. The king must be killed. He is so impudent and shameless that he blasphemed Lord Vishnu. The sages then killed Vena simply by the mystic force of their angry incantations. Vena's mother Sunita was aggrieved by his death. She preserved his dead body with special ingredients and mantras. The sages observed many disturbances in the country due to the absence of a king. Considering the welfare of people in general, they decided that that the dynasty of a saintly king like Anga should not be stopped. The sages churned the thighs of Vena's dead body in a specific method. From its impure portion, resulting from his mother Sunita, emerged a dwarf-like person named Bahuka. Bahuka's descendants inhabited hills and forests, and their tribe was addicted to sinful activities, and they became known as Nishada. Then the sages churned Vena's arms, and from the pure portion of his body, resulting from saintly Anga, a divine couple appeared. The male was Prithu, an empowered expansion of Lord Vishnu, and the female was Archi, a partial expansion of Lakshmi, the most famous king. Prithu was coronated as the king of Prithu was coronated as the king, and various personalities from all over the universe offered him gifts. Professional bards praised him eloquently and predicted his future qualities and activities. A perfect picture of modesty, Prithu, feeling embarrassed, mightily forbade them. "I haven't yet displayed these qualities. If I don't display them in the future, your words will go wrong, implicating you with speaking lies. Only the pastimes of the Supreme Lord can be sung and glorified in any assembly." The bards were deeply impressed with Prithu's humility, but being encouraged by the sages, they continued to glorify him. They doubled down. Later, Prithu satisfied them with various gifts. Once the citizens informed King Prithu of their starvation due to lack of sufficient food grains. Understanding that the earth was holding the grains, Prithu became angry. He took up his bow and aimed an arrow at the earth. Fearing her life, the earth fled in the form of a cow. Righteous Prithu chased her. Observing his relentless determination in pursuing her, she finally turned to him with a distressed heart and pleaded to be forgiven. She petitioned, "O Lord, I am also one of your citizens, and only an innocent, sinless woman. You cannot violate dharma that forbids killing a woman. Since the time of Vain, people have been using food grains simply for sense gratification, and the kingly class was not maintaining me. Therefore I hid the seeds, but now I shall release them." Prithu was pleased, and thereafter he extracted several natural resources from the earth. He affectionately accepted her as his daughter. He made the earth flat by crumbling the mountain tops and constructing planned towns, villages, cities, forts, cowherd villages, cowsheds, military installations, mines, etc., for the prosperity of all. Once Prithu, let me just check everything is running properly. Yes. Okay, great. Thanks, Madhavi. Once Prithu initiated the performance of 100 horse sacrifices at Brahmavarta for the welfare of the state by satisfying the Lord. He completed 99 sacrifices, but as he was undertaking the last one, Indra stole the sacrificial horse. Indra holds the record of being a Shatakratu, the performer of 100 sacrifices. Driven by envy, insecure Indra retaliated out of his imaginary fear of Prithu's trying to excel him. Disguising himself as a mendicant, he stole the horse to impede Prithu's sacrifice. Directed by Atri, Prithu's son Vijitashva chased Indra and retrieved the horse, but decided not to kill Indra, seeing him dressed like a saint. Unrelenting Indra stole the horse again. Vijitashva chased him and brought it back again. Every time Indra seized Prithu's horse, he came in the forms of false saints. Ignorant people considered these forms religious, and sinful men adapted to these to carry out their sinful acts, like stealing without being punished or killed, all under the false banner of religiosity. Stubborn Indra repeatedly tried to seize the horse under the false attire of mendicants. Prithu became angry and prepared to kill Indra. Prithu's priest, however, stopped him, saying that instead they would rather chant mantras to cast deceptive Indra into the sacrificial fire. Then Lord Brahma appeared at the scene and told Prithu to stop the sacrifice so that Indra gives up his nefarious activities. Obedient Prithu, showing a deep sense of maturity, followed Brahma's advice. Thus, Lord Vishnu, the ultimate enjoyer of all sacrifices, was satisfied by Prithu's incomplete sacrifice due to his sense of subordination to spiritual authority. Appearing in front of him and bringing Indra with him, Lord Vishnu asked Prithu to forgive Indra. Indra too genuinely felt guilty for his misdeeds, and Prithu wholeheartedly excused him. Prithu offered heartfelt prayers to Lord Vishnu. O best of all bestowers of benedictions, I do not desire heaven or liberation. Please grant me the boon of millions of ears to hear nectarian narrations about you from your pure-hearted devotees. The Lord replied, May you have unflinching bhakti to me. Only by such purity of purpose as you yourself intelligently expressed can one cross over my insurmountable maya. The Lord then departed. Starting back for his city, Prithu was received by the citizens very lovingly. Once Prithu conducted another sacrifice, in which great Rajarshis, Brahmarshis, and demigods all assembled. In that assembly, he instructed his citizens on devotional service, dharma shiksha. Bhakti unto the Lord cleanses one's mind from all misgivings, and such a devotee doesn't surrender to material life again. Therefore, render bhakti without reservations by engaging your body, mind, and words, and offer the results of your varnashram duties for his satisfaction. One can easily please the Lord by serving the Brahmins and Vaishnavas. Enlivened by his practical and beneficial teachings, the citizens praised Prithu. At that time, the 4 Kumaras appeared at that sacrificial arena. Prithu eagerly welcomed them. Feeling grateful for their rare audience, Prithu said, Fortunate householders are those who, even though poor, give worthy reception to saints like you. Unfortunate are those who, even though rich, do not allow Vaishnavas into their houses. Their houses are like trees in which venomous serpents live. Please tell me about the best means of benefit for those suffering in this world. Sanat Kumar unequivocally answered, The only cause of benefit for human society has been conclusively established in the scriptures as 1. Detachment from the bodily conception, and 2. Attachment to the Supreme Lord. And these are attained by constant hearing about the Lord's qualities that are like ornaments of the ears. Attachment to the Lord destroys one's material attachments, but attachment to sense enjoyment leads to lower forms of life. By engaging one's senses in the service of Lord Vasudeva, one can easily uproot the material aspirations. The Lord's lotus feet are the boat to cross this fierce material ocean infested with dangerous sharks. King Prithu thanked the Kumaras, who then departed. King Prithu ruled his kingdom in an exemplary manner. Although he was amidst great opulence and household comforts, he was fixed up in his bhakti. His reputation was widespread through the universe. Eventually, Prithu handed over the kingdom to his sons and retired. He underwent austerities in Tapovan by controlling his words, senses, and life airs only to satisfy Lord Krishna. His queen Archie also voluntarily followed him into the forest and performed austerities. Though Archie became thin, she didn't feel any pain due to the pleasure she derived in lovingly serving her husband. Prithu constantly worshipped the Lord by bhakti yoga. In due course of time, Prithu fixed his mind firmly upon Lord Krishna and gave up his body. Archie lamented for a little while, and then placed Prithu's body on a funeral pyre. She then circumambulated the fire 3 times and entered its flames while meditating on her husband. Seeing this amazing act, thousands of wives of the demigods, along with their husbands, praised Archie. All glories to Queen Archie. She served her husband with mind, speech, and body, exactly as Lakshmi serves Vishnu. She surpassed the Devatas. She is following her husband upward. Thus Prithu and Archie went to the spiritual world. Hearing and chanting about King Prithu enriches one's devotion, faith, and attraction to the Lord's lotus feet, and enable one to go back to Godhead, like King Prithu. One second, guys. I just want to see where I am in the book. Okay. There I am. Okay, so the Song of the Supreme Vaishnav. Hey, the book looks... Oh, there. Okay. Prithu's son was Vijitashva, whose son was Havirdhana. Of the 6 sons of Havirdhana, the eldest was Prachina Barhi. He married Shatadruti and begot 10 sons named the Prachetas. King Prachina Barhi ordered the Prachetas to beget children. To purify themselves before entering married life, the Prachetas went to the forest to perform austerities. When they arrived at a serene lake in the forest, they saw the mystic appearance of Lord Shiva. Compassionate Shiva, knowing their intentions, told the Prachetas, "Anyone who surrendered to Lord Vasudeva is as dear to me as the Lord himself. The devotees, too, consider me as dear to them as the Lord himself." Lord Shiva then taught the Prachetas a song called the Rudra Gita. In the Rudra Gita, Lord Shiva first offered prayers to the Chaturvyuha, the quadruple expansions of Lord Krishna, namely Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, who maintain the gross and subtle elements of this universe. They are the presiding deities of our consciousness, ego, intelligence, and the mind, together called the Antakarana, respectively. So what is that? Vasudeva is consciousness, Sankarshan is ego, Pradyumna represents intelligence, and Aniruddha the mind. Shiva prayed to them to pivot the Antakarana towards bhakti, which is their real purpose. Next, Shiva offered prayers to the deities of material elements and to Lord Krishna, who is the source of all these deities. Lord Shiva next prayed to see the enchanting form of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and described that form to the Prachetas in vivid details. Shiva then further described the unparalleled beauty of the Lord and his 4-handed form of Vishnu. Shiva then glorified Bhakti Yoga, the devotees of Krishna, and prayed for the association of pure devotees. He said, Krishna is obtainable by bhakti alone. Such bhakti is the rarest achievement. One who desires heaven or temporary pleasures cannot worship Krishna, while a sincere devotee who worships Krishna cannot be affected by the force of invincible time. Even half a moment's association of such a devotee cannot be compared to heaven or even liberation from material bondage. A devotee's heart, which is purified by bhakti, is not agitated by material objects. Blessed by Bhakti Devi, such a devotee understands the Lord's name, fame, form, and activities. Shiva further described how Krishna expands as Mahavishnu for the purpose of material creation through his Maya. He also described the time feature of the Lord. Having thus instructed the Prachetas, Lord Shiva departed, and the Prachetas meditated on the instructions of their Guru, Shiva. They applied themselves to the method and message of their Guru with great dedication. They chanted the Rudra Gita for 10,000 years under the water. an allegory that ended in attachment. Sorry, not that ended in attachment, that ended attachment, the opposite. While the Prachetas engaged in austerities, their father Prachina Barhi was engrossed in various fruitive sacrifices. Narad Muni went to Prachina Barhi and asked him, "What do you desire to achieve by these karmas, by these fruitive activities? Please see in the sky those animals which you have sacrificed without compassion. They all are awaiting your death to pierce your body with iron horns." Narad then narrated an allegorical story of a mythical character called Puranjan to King Prachina Barhi as follows. Once there was a king called Puranjan, representing the living entity who dwells within a material body. He had a friend named Abhigyata, the Supersoul. Puranjan traveled all over the world to find a suitable place to live to fulfill his desires for sense enjoyment. While wandering, he saw a city with 9 gates, the human body that has 9 holes. In that city, Puranjan saw a beautiful woman, Puranjani, material intelligence. She was accompanied by 10 servants with hundreds of wives, which is the 10 senses with hundreds of desires. She was protected by a 5-hooded snake, the vital life force. Puranjan was attracted to her feminine features and asked about her identity. Puranjani also got attracted to him and replied, "I don't know my name or family. I only know that I am existing alone in this place today. All these men and the women accompanying them are my friends, and the snake that always remains awake protects the city even during my sleeping hours. By great fortune you have come here to the human form. You may live in this city for 100 years. I will arrange everything for your sense enjoyment." Thus Puranjan and Puranjani got married and lived in the city. Puranjan enjoyed with her and remained under her control just like a pet animal. He begot many children and grandchildren who were virtually plunderers of his home, treasury, and so on. His attachment to them was deep-rooted, and he was implicated with countless desires. He conducted many animal sacrifices for prosperity and success of his materialistic plans. Eventually, Puranjan became old. Then the Gandharva king Chandavega, representing the duration of time in a year, and his 360 powerful soldiers, the days, and 360 and their 360 female companions, knights. They attacked the city of Puranjan. Sorry, guys. The 5-hooded serpents defended the city and brought with the... The 5-hooded serpent defended the city and fought with the 720 soldiers alone, gradually becoming very weak. At this time, the daughter of Chandavega named Jara, or Kalakanya, old age, was seeking her husband, but no one accepted her. So she approached the king of Yavans, Bhār, fear, and chose him as her husband. But Bhār told Kalakanya to become his sister, and proposed that they attack people along with his brother Prajvara, fever that comes at the time of death. Thereafter, Prajvara, Kalakanya, and the soldiers of Bhār, the Yavanas, began to travel all over the world. The trio attacked the city of Puranjan. Being embraced by Kalakanya, Puranjan underwent great pain and gradually lost all his beauty. Even against his desire, he was being forced to leave the city, which was smashed by Kalakanya, the Gandharvas, and the Yavanas. Prajvara set fire to the city. Puranjan, along with his wives, citizens, and family, suffered the heat. Troubled beyond relief, the city's superintendent, the 5-hooded serpent, wished to leave the city. Helpless Puranjan lamented about his wives and children. Bhaya approached to arrest them. As soon as the snake left the city was dismantled. The Yavanas forcibly dragged Puranjan. Being in ignorance, he couldn't remember his friend, Abhigyata, his eternal friend and well-wisher. Because Puranjan had earlier killed many animals in various sacrifices, those animals began to pierce him with their horns like axes. Thus he died remembering his wife. Because Puranjan died remembering a woman, in his next life he was born as a woman named Vaidarbi, the daughter of King Vidarbha. Vaidarbi married King Malayadvaja and begot 7 sons and a daughter. Eventually, Malayadvaja divided his kingdom among his sons and retired to Kulachal to worship Lord Krishna. Vaidarbi followed him. Being a devoted wife, she gave up house, children, and enjoyments to serve her husband. Malayadvaja performed severe austerities, fixing his mind on Lord Vasudeva. He eventually gave up his body, and Vaidarbi lamented in separation from him. She placed the dead body upon the funeral pyre and prepared to enter the fire with her husband. Just at that time, a Brahman, the supersoul Abhigyata, came there and counseled Vaidarbi. "Who are you? Who is this man lying here? Don't you recognize me, your eternal friend, whom you have consulted many times? Unfortunately, you gave up my company and accepted the position of an enjoyer in this material world. We both are like 2 swans living in the Manasa lake, the heart, for thousands of years. Yet we are far away from our original home, the spiritual world. Leaving me with material consciousness, you went to the earth, and wandering about, you saw a place, the material body created by woman. You enjoyed with that woman without hearing about knowledge of the self. Actually, you are not the daughter of Vidarbha, nor the wife of Malayadvaja, nor the husband of Puranjani. Maya causes you to think of yourself as a woman or a man. The fact is that we both are pure spiritual entities, not different in quality." Thus Narad Muni concluded his allegorical story of Puranjan. Prachina Barhi, however, couldn't fully grasp its purport. Narad explained that Puranjan was none other than the jiva transmigrating from one body to another body. He said the jiva attains different types of bodies under the influence of the 3 modes. All his attempts to counteract the threefold miseries remain futile. One can get out of this entanglement only by performing bhakti under the guidance of a guru, and thus awakening to one's original Krishna consciousness. Bhakti takes place by hearing about Krishna. The mind is the storehouse of all materialistic desires, and carries the soul from one body to another. A devotee can avoid this transmigration by bhakti. Therefore, worship the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus, being enlightened by Narad Muni, Prachina Barhi retired from his role as a king without any further delays. Even before his sons, the Prachetas, could return from their austerities, by performing bhakti unto Krishna, he attained perfection. The pristine friendship of the 10 Prachetas. And we're almost done. We're just at the last page now. Well, last page and a half. Pleased with their austerities, Lord Vishnu appeared in front of the Prachetas in his 8-handed form. With a merciful glance, he addressed them. "My dear princes, I wish you all good fortune. I am pleased by your friendly and cooperative relationships. All of you are engaged in bhakti together. This is real unity." The Lord then gave benedictions to the Prachetas. He said, those who remember you every evening will develop close friendships. Those who glorify me by chanting Rudra Git will receive my benedictions. You all can marry Marisha, who is born of the Apsara named Pramalocha and sage Kandu. You will have a famous son, Daksha, whose progeny will fill the 3 worlds. Enjoy all facilities of this world for 1,000,000 celestial years. You will develop unadulterated bhakti and come back to me. The Prachetas then offered their heartfelt prayers to Lord Vishnu with faltering voices. "O Lord, you relieve material distresses of your devotees. All your qualities and names are auspicious. You are the origin of everything. You have mercifully manifested your form in front of us. We don't desire anything other than your satisfaction. You are called Ananta because you have endless opulences. As long as we wander in this world, life after life, may we associate with your devotees who discuss your pastimes. Hearing Krishna Katha destroys all hankering, envy, and fear. The Lord heard these prayers, and although the Prachetas were not fully satisfied seeing him, he left. Thereafter, the Prachetas emerged from the sea. They saw that tall trees have overgrown everywhere, covering the entire earth. They became angry and emitted fire from their mouths to burn the trees, for they wanted to clear the land for agriculture. Then Lord Brahma appeared and pacified them, and told them to marry Marisha, the daughter of the trees. The Prachetas married Marisha and begot Daksha from her. They lived at home for thousands of years, and finally retired and went to the seashore. Once Narad Muni came to the Prachetas, who then requested him to enlighten him. Narad told them, "The birth, activities, lifespan, mind, and words of all human beings are perfected only by bhakti unto Lord Krishna. Without bhakti, one's high birth, long life, Vedic education, austerity, physical strength, mystic power, and everything else is useless. Just as watering the root energizes the branches and twigs of a tree, and just as supplying food to the stomach enliven all bodily limbs, similarly, worshipping Krishna by bhakti satisfies all the demigods. So one has to just serve Krishna." Hearing these teachings of Narad Muni, the Prachetas became further attached to the Lord, and meditating upon his lotus feet, they attained the ultimate destination. In this way, Maitreya Muni described to Vidura about the dynasty of Uttanapad, in which great kings like Dhruva, Anga, Prithu, Prachinabarhi, and the Prachetas appeared. Hearing all these historic narrations, Vidura was overwhelmed with ecstasy and gratitude, and profusely thanked Maitreya. Thereafter, Vidura went to Hastinapur to enlighten his elder brother Dhritarashtra, and as described in the First Canto. Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam is very not linear, isn't it? And so, tomorrow I will read from this summary of Canto 5. And Canto 5 is like, I don't know, I think less than half the size of the Fourth Canto. So our reading tomorrow will be short. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gaurāṅga Darśana Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Vigyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradakta Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dandavat Pranams. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Paradevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams. Thanks, Mantramurti Mataji. Yeah, it's nice to have a revision, isn't it, Madhavi Didi? So this book is called Bhāgavata-pravāha. I noticed that this Kindle version that I've been reading is full of mistakes everywhere. I mean, they're just proofreading mistakes, but it's driving me crazy. Like everywhere, there's commas that shouldn't be there, or apostrophes missing, or the word "the" was missing in so many different places. But I think this book, the printed book, doesn't have as many mistakes like that. Anyhow, it's the same thing, and you understand what's happening. But yeah, this book was done by Gaurāṅga Darśana Prabhu, and I think the description of this video, I think I called it Bhāgavata-pravāha, right? And I'm going to put this in the comments. This is my reading of the other chapters. I'm just now sending in the comments. Yeah, so there's my reading of Canto 1, Canto 2, and Canto 3. Alright, thank you for joining me in this reading, and I'll see you tomorrow for the 5th Canto reading. And then I think the day after tomorrow we will begin the 5th Canto, but maybe just to give Indira Mataji time to catch up, maybe we might read the day after that. We'll see. I told her that I wanted to start reading the 5th Canto on the 29th, but I don't know if she'll be able to catch up with us by that time. Alright, Dandavat Pranams.